Let me pull a few principles here from the life of Daniel and the life of Belshazzar. These are two men that serve as case studies regarding Daniel. Don't get caught up in power, praise, possessions, or pleasure. Right? Because what the king is telling him is, you could be third in command. Power, praise, I'm going to tell everybody what you've done if you help me. Possessions, you're going to get gold. Pleasure, here's a party, here's a harem, welcome to the party. Don't get caught up in those things. Those things are fleeting and passing, and the joy of the Lord is deeper and richer and never ends. Okay? Number two, the only way to conquer fear of man is with fear of God. Proverbs 29:25 says that fear of man is a trap or a snare. How terrified would you be if you had to do Daniel's job? I mean, this family is a situation, right? They've already thrown his friends into a fiery furnace. I mean, his grandpa's the Adolf Hitler of the Old Testament. Through military blitzkrieg, he conquers nations, plunders them, burns them to the ground, enslaves them, and if the Jewish people get out of line, he puts them in a furnace. I mean, this is not a family that you pick a fight with. But Daniel is going to overcome fear of man with the fear of God. Some of you don't like to have hard conversations. Some of you don't like conflict. Some of you don't like consequences. Some of you don't want any trouble. You have fear of man. He has love for his enemies because he has fear of God, so he no longer fears his enemies. He just knows what is right. He seeks to say and do that which is right, no matter the consequences. Number three, regarding this man, Daniel, we saw earlier that he would kneel before God, and then he will stand before a king. Everyone else bowed down, except for Daniel and his buddies. Here we see that if you will kneel before God, you can stand before kings. This is where God opposes the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. Humble yourself, and he'll lift you up when it's time. Kneeling in prayer, kneeling in worship is a demonstration of humility in the heart and in the soul. And if you have humility, then you'll have the integrity as you kneel before God to stand before kings. That's the story of Daniel. In addition, regarding this man's life, he doesn't edit or write the mail. He lets God write the mail, and he just delivers it as a faithful mailman. When he stands before these men and he has these hard, complex, difficult conversations, he doesn't withhold those things that could be a little controversial. And he also doesn't add things that could be a little personal. How many of you, if God's like, okay, go tell that king, I'm done, I'm sick of him. How many of you would add a little bit of your own? Oh, and while we're here, I'm castrated in Iraq and a vegetarian, and God's going to kill you, and yay. So he doesn't do that. When you take it personal, you make it personal. The next point is, if somebody has a problem with God, leave the problem between them and God. Don't put yourself in the middle. Right? He's like, okay, God's got a problem with you. You and God got a problem. I'm not putting myself in the middle. This is between you and God. Sometimes we get frustrated with people and we get ourselves in the middle, and that means it's harder for God to deal with them because we've complicated the situation. Daniel just leaves it as it is between this man and God.
Hey, howdy, Pastor Mark here. Thanks for viewing the clip. And if you'd like the entire sermon, we've got it ready to go.